Welcome to AAPC Social Hour for August 23rd, 2023. And today we're going to talk about exams a little bit. We've got Ray and Jaci with me. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Right now, right this second, I'm trying to make sure that we are live. Oh, I see us.
Success.
And we've got 28 people, 30 people joining. It's growing quick. I think a lot of people are excited about this discussion. But to kick it off, I just saw the two of you guys in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Had a ton of fun.
Oh, it was so fun.
I love that.
It is a great location. And in fact, on the last day, I finally used my free ticket. Thank you, AAPC. And I rode the Ferris wheel.
How was that, Jaci? Was it terrifying?
No, actually, you don't even, it goes at such a speed that you don't feel like you're really moving. You just get this great aerial view, and they take you around at least 4 times. And it's such a large compartment. You're like in a little room. It's so nice. It's wonderful. And they play good music.
Nice.
I hear there's a glass bottom, and it's kind of, someone was saying that made them nervous. Did that make you nervous?
I would not be able to handle that. I can tell you right now.
I don't remember a glass
I would
bottom.
be terrified.
I can't say there was one. Sorry.
Well, that would be a little inappropriate
Yeah.
for ladies' clothing,
Yeah,
I would think.
I don't remember a glass bottom. This isn't a glass bottom boat. So if some, maybe there were some that were, but I don't remember my little pod having a glass bottom, because that probably would have made me a little uncomfortable. But the view out the windows, it was really fun. It was.
We had some crazy weather. We had some beautiful weather. It was just a great variety of experiences.
Yeah, that weather really upset my plans. I'll say that. I had tickets to go see Pink and did not venture out into the storm. But the it was great, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, all right.
We did great.
And you're back in San Diego, Jaci?
Yes, I am. I am back in I had an extended stay. I stayed in Northern Virginia, then I went to Richmond, and now I'm back in San Diego.
Okay. And Ray, you are not in the office. I'm the only one in the office today. Where are you at?
I am in Florida right now. I'm from here originally before I moved out to Utah. So I'm just in South Florida, Pompano Beach, visiting family and friends and getting some work in too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Work never sleeps, Ray.
No, never stops.
And I don't.
But it
we
keeps
don't sleep.
It keeps life exciting.
It
Yes.
does.
Hey,
Exciting.
speaking of Pink, Jacob Morgan says, I've seen Pink in Cincinnati and going in November to see her again.
Wow.
Hey, congratulations. I'm hoping to find another location and try again.
Yep.
I saw her in Salt Lake a few years ago and she's fantastic.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be worth the wait.
Renee Billinger, our good friend, says hello from steamy, hot, sweltering Kansas. Good to see you, Renee.
It's hot everywhere. It really is. We're getting some big temperatures.
Yeah. Let's see here. We've got Daphne. Daphne says glass bottom. That's a whole lot of nope.
No. Yeah.
I agree. That would be a no for me.
Shelly Bechtold says, hello, everyone. The wheel was a lot of fun. Thanks for being with us out in Washington, D.C. Now we're looking out towards Las Vegas and
Philly
in April.
Yeah.
And then
it's
Philly.
It's going to be fun. It's been a while since we've been in Vegas, so we're looking forward to that.
We're back at Caesars, right?
Yeah, it's Caesars Forum. So it's their new event area. So we're super excited about that.
That's going to be
great.
Fun. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, you guys, we're excited to have you on. Talk a little bit about where we are with exams, certification exams, and where we'll be going in the future with those. I mean, we had a lot of change coming into 2023 with those, and we're just going to kind of reset and just share where we are and what we hope to do. So Ray, would you mind kicking off this discussion?
Sure. So as you mentioned, Alex, we've had some changes with exams, biggest changes in quite some time with the item reduction and positioning for electronic exams. With the implementation of electronic exams, it allows us to add other item types that you can't do on a bubble sheet, similar to what we have with the CIC exam, where coding of cases becomes available through multiple fill in the blanks. So we've been going through this process of making iterative changes so that we're not changing so much all at once. So part of that item reduction was positioning us to be able to go on electronically. And we've had some really good success in doing that, and test outcomes is what we've been seeing. It has been very promising with the implementation of electronic exams. For 2023, we wanted to give a transition period for electronic exams to move into in-person opportunities. Right now, electronic in the US is available for the live remote proctoring. 2024, as we've announced earlier in the year, in 2024, on in-person exams will move to testing centers that have the technology capabilities of administering exam on a computer, so that we can have all exams being scored and facilitated through an electronic format. That's probably the biggest change. And I know that there has been some confusion about moving exams from local chapters to testing centers, giving the impression we were removing in-person opportunities. We realize not everyone wants to take an exam in their home through the computer. We know that maybe internet might be unstable. They don't feel comfortable having the test in their home. And that is why we are committed to offering both an in-person option through a testing center, as well as the option of those that do want that convenience of live remote proctoring.
Okay. I'm just reading through the comments. There's some good.
And I'll stop there. And so to allow for some comments, and Jackie, if you wanted to add anything before we move into our next topic.
That would be great. I come to this as a member as well, so I'm very curious to hear some of the comments. And I don't mind saying this, I also come to this as an older member. So for me, when I hear these things, my first knee jerk is always a little, wow, how's that going to be? And yes, I'm still interested in taking exams, but beyond that, I also am very forward thinking for the membership. And I think AAPC is recognizing, and I give them kudos for it, they're recognizing the change in our membership. So it's hard to capture all our age groups, all our generations, and all our thought processes. However, the main thing, the most important thing, and I've thought this from the beginning, and I know that Ray agrees, the most important thing of all of this is keeping the integrity of the exam. So when I think about it that way, and I step away from what my personal, gee, I'd love to be able to take an exam sitting at Starbucks and sipping some coffee. Boy, wouldn't that be great if I could do that? If I can take all my personal wishes out of it and really think about what we're doing as this group grows, we are huge and we really represent something so big. And you should be proud to be a member and carry that certification. And if you've worked really hard to get it, you want to believe that everybody else is working just as hard and is being just as fair as you. So part of this is maintaining the integrity of the exam, putting it in a format that is fair to everyone. Does that mean that it might be not exactly the way you would envisioned it? Might be. But going forward, you have to also adapt to the time period and what's most important as a group this size. So what have we got for questions out there?
All right. Well, first off, I'd say there's a lot of questions about the testing centers. Have testing centers been identified? How do we apply to be a testing center? How many testing centers are available in each state? I'm kind of throwing a lot at you, but I think we can summarize
Yep.
that?
So the in-person opportunities through testing centers is through Measure Learning. They have testing locations across the world. They're a global offer of exam opportunities. So what will happen is when a member decides to take the exam in an in-person opportunity, they will be given access on the Measure website to be able to see what's available in their area so that they can go ahead and schedule. We work very closely with Measure, making sure that we're going to have enough sites to accommodate our membership. So looking at our patterns and where current exam voucher holders are to be able to meet our demand and work through any issues that maybe there's a remote location that they have to open up another facility. For those that are interested in becoming a testing facility, one thing that Measure will require is a list of technical requirements. And we do have the contact at Measure where we can connect you directly to them to discuss the opportunity of opening up your own test center. One thing that they would, in order to open up a new test center, they would be agreeing to all of the technical requirements. Some are partitioned cubicles, the technology as far as being able to have cameras in the room to be able to record exams. They have a long list of technical requirements in order to meet the requirements of a facility. And as we move closer to that, we'll be able to provide that information out and connect you to the right person at Measure to be able to be considered.
Would you
Does that? Oh, go
Oh,
ahead, Jackie.
I was going to say, would you say when you talk about locations, I kind of think about it like this. We still have in a lot of our states very remote areas, and there's not even always a local chapter there because it's so remote. So even if it was at a local chapter, you'd still be traveling, right?
Correct.
So it's not really that these won't be available. They'll probably be available in the same places your local chapters were before. And it's the same sort of thing. You probably would not be traveling that much more, I wouldn't think.
Agreed. And that's the goal.
Right.
Our hope is that it opens up even more opportunities than what we are able to facilitate now through local chapters. So, but yeah, remote locations are always a challenge just from limitation of facilities that have the infrastructure to be able to support an electronic exam.
And that's where the online electronic exam would come into play and hopefully help out those in rural areas. And we understand that that not everyone's internet connection in a rural area is perfect and it may not be adequate, but we feel like we're giving more options now than we ever have for people to successfully take the exam.
That's the goal. And I will tell you that Measure is committed to helping us through situations where they might not currently have enough capacity, but building up that capacity. That's why we're doing some of that analysis now to be ready for all the areas that we know that people are already consuming exams.
Yes.
I know for me, the biggest challenge of an online exam was getting my office space clean. Because as you can see, it's full of what I do and there really wasn't a space. And I'm not suggesting anyone do this, but I did get a hotel room because it was pretty sparse and it made it so much easier for me to lay out my books and have everything. And again, I'm not suggesting anybody spend that money, but it was my choice. I had a free day at a hotel and I was like, I can take my exam there because for me, the hardship was cleaning the space, not so much the technology.
I didn't want to say that. Thanks for bringing it up, Jackie.
What, that I have a messy office?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just teasing you.
Oh, it's fine. I'm obviously proud of it because I didn't glare.
Well, let's see here. Kelly Bell says, will test site locations information be available on the AAPC website? I believe you can just go to Measure right now and see where
Yeah,
locations are.
they're not just going to broadcast all of the locations. What'll happen is once an exam voucher is purchased, then that individual will be given instructions to go on the Measure website and find the location near them. The reason why it's just not all locations broadcasted is they want to make sure that only people that are approved to take an exam knows the locations. They don't want people just randomly showing up at their offices. So the first part is being validated as, yes, this person is qualified to take an exam. Then they're given their options when they log in through the email that they will receive in conjunction with AAPC and Measure on, now that you have an exam, these are your options to schedule. Plus, they change all the time. They're constantly adding locations. So to keep that list updated would be cumbersome. So that's the reason why they handle it that way.
Do you think it'd be feasible for local chapters to set up as a Measure testing center? And would they be able to, if so, would they be able to use their chapter funds for such a thing?
Knowing what the technical requirements are, nothing's ever impossible. I just don't know the likelihood of a local chapter having a dedicated space with cameras, with the technology requirements, with the physical building requirements to be able to offer the exam. The expense of establishing a site like that, I just don't see how a local chapter would be able to facilitate that. So I'm not going to say it's impossible. Knowing what's required from the security integrity portion, I just don't know how it would be feasible for them to do it.
I think definitely, especially with the camera piece. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity with offices with cubicles. You can have that, but then all that has to be cleared out. But certainly this is the time for local chapters to start investigating and determining what is required.
I think colleges that deal with a lot of proctoring of exams, school facilities might have a already ready infrastructure for something like this. So.
Yeah, and someone asked, can a licensed PMCC instructor hold exams? And it sounds like
they would be followed by the same requirements. Absolutely. That's why we've let all licensed instructors know since the beginning of 2023 that they would not have the opportunity to proctor their own exams because of the electronic move that we're making.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And as we spoke about chapters, there's concern in the comments about the future of local chapters and how they'll be funded. Do we have a plan, Ray, for how we will support local chapters once this is implemented?
Yes. So we have multiple ways that local chapters can earn money to stay functioning in their area. First thing that I want to say is AAPC is very committed to local chapters. We know that that's the backbone, that's our secret sauce, that's what makes AAPC special, is the work of our local chapters. And we do not want to see that diminish. So there's alternate ways that we can help with funding of local chapters through meetings that they're already holding. We're looking at that reimbursement structure. But where we see local chapters having the biggest opportunity is through offering review classes through the local chapter. So once the elections are held and we have new officers in place, we will be rolling out materials to local chapters to be able to teach those one-day reviews. We have some chapters now, very few, that are already offering these types of reviews, and they're typically either a half day or a full day exam review. So AAPC will be providing to the chapters these materials to hold these review classes for all of the core exams. So that's all of the exams except for the specialty credentials. And we will have a train the trainer program where in order for you to be qualified to teach these reviews, you would either have to be an approved instructor that's already gone through that training or through a train the trainer process that only those individuals would be qualified to teach the review and only the review. One of the other requirements will be for them to hold the credential which they are offering the review for, because how can you help someone navigate and understand what to expect if you haven't taken it yourself?
And the review classes have been around for a really long time, and I've noticed some chapters really take advantage of that, and they offer it almost quarterly or even more. And these are great opportunities for your chapter to be able to make these offerings. And now that AAPC is going to bring it in, that amount of information for all your cores is just amazing. It's just getting your chapter to recognize that there's more to it than proctoring exams and, your same things. It's time to step out a little bit. And now with the new officers coming in the fall and into the winter, start creating those types of ideas, and it might spark some additional interest within your chapter as well. We did review classes multiple times, and they're just a wonderful. Plus, it's nice for individuals who aren't studying just to get that refresher on that information, because it's just an incredible amount of information in a day or a half day.
We also have a lot of chapters that hold either one-day seminars or workshops, have an extended program where they can charge admission for those types of activities. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for local chapters to remain sustainable.
Definitely.
Okay. Cindy Ackerman says, I have not heard anyone in the US say anything positive about the experience with online testing or electronic exams. And I would just like to say, we do see comments in the Facebook group, but I've started asking those who share in the group their successful exam grade. I started asking them in the comments, was it online or in person? And I'm asking if it was an electronic exam, what was that experience like? Because we give hundreds of exams every week, and many are, by and large, they run off, they happen successfully. And then I'm not saying that everyone is perfect. And I know I have seen it, that there have been some issues, but by and large, I think we have happy examinees who have taken it. We just, when someone complains in the group, one negative comment feels like 1,000. And do you guys have any thoughts about what we see in the group versus what is happening in reality?
Go ahead, Ray.
Well, I will say that historically at AAPC, we usually only hear about the negative experiences. We don't have a ton of people calling us in, thanking us for the wonderful experience we've fostered for their exams. I can tell you our process when we get a complaint about what has happened during an exam. And with the electronic exams, these are recorded. So we are able to view those videos to see what happened. Is there an opportunity where the proctor needs additional training? Is this something that the proctor did wrong? And I can tell you, when we are looking at these instances, a small percentage of them were a result of bad proctoring. So we are tracking these instances because as an organization, we want every examinee to have a good experience. It is stressful. Anyone taking an exam is under extreme stress. So we want to make sure that it is as seamless as possible. But as Jaci said earlier, our number one concern is integrity, and the exam rules are strict for a reason. We need to make sure that there's no inappropriate items in view. I know one of the biggest problems is positioning of the camera, making sure that we can see everything that needs to be seen. And I see a lot of frustration where it takes a long process for them to walk through that with the proctor, or not being able to understand the proctor's instructions that they're trying to give. That's why we've created videos, we've provided instructions ahead of time, FAQs, so that the examinee, before joining that exam encounter, feels like they know what to expect, so they're ready for it. So we can provide all of this wonderful information, but if people aren't taking advantage of it ahead of time and aren't prepared, unfortunately, some of those exams don't go well. I can tell you that we're tracking and trending it here, and it's something that our teams have a regular standing touch point with our vendors to make sure that any opportunity we have to make it better, we will make it better.
I think you brought up some really good points there, Ray. As you know, for me, as a member taking exams, it is, no matter how much you may feel you understand the topic, it's still a stressful moment. And I agree with you. I think we all need to take some responsibility to, if this is what we're going to do, we have to read all the information. Just earlier this week, I was teaching a class and I was going through the AAPC website with them. And I was like, here's all this information for an online exam. Here's where you can find this. Here's where you can find that. But you have to stop and take the time and do it to help yourself, because when you show up that day, everything you said is correct, right? It has to be that person who's somewhere else, and it wouldn't even matter if they were 2 miles down the road, they're not there with you. And they've got to be able to see that room as if you were live somewhere and someone could walk through the room and see what you were doing. It's the same thing, but now it's a camera. So yes, we get frustrated. Yes, it takes a long time and the stress continues to build. For me, it's just a hardship, honestly, when I see on the Facebook page, people really getting upset and making it appear that the organization doesn't care, when I know they do. And I know I'm just one person saying that, but I really want you to understand, I've been with AAPC since '93, and all I've seen is more care over time. And it's just a process that we've got to get used to, but it would be nice if you did have a great experience to say so. Like, that was a really good day. My proctor was, once we got it all straight, went on and the exam was great. But it does take some getting used to, and that's something that we all just have to accommodate as we, learn new things. And that's no different than accommodating some of the things I have to learn at work and different types of processes. But again, just the building off the negative is never a really good thing at all. It's painful.
Well, and it's an option. It's not forced. It's not, AAPC is an organization saying live remote proctoring is your only opportunity to test with us. That's why we are committed to having an in-person option where they can go to a location to take the exam. So this is a choice. If a member were to feel that it is not for them, they do not want to navigate the complexity of positioning of the camera or worried about connectivity, they have another alternative.
That's interesting, Ray, because someone mentioned I had, this is Shelley Bechtold, I had a good and bad experience. I had technical difficulties with my camera. I was able to reschedule the exam for the next day. So
Right.
It's not a black and white experience. We want you to take your exam. We want you to succeed and have the best experience possible. And when we don't, and I've been a part of these processes sometimes where I've worked with the exam department, and when they've showed me the transcripts of the exam, and they are being very thorough to help you be successful and give you the opportunity. There's a little bit of concern when we talk about funding for local chapters. And I think it might have felt like that we're going to ask local chapters to charge. I mean, that is a way they can have funding, is by charging for exam preps and things like that. Marty jumped in and says, as far as supporting the chapters, we are working on a new reimbursement schedule. We do plan to support the chapters so they are sustainable. Local chapters are so important to us. Ray, would you speak a little bit more to that?
So, I'll say it again, because I want to make sure every opportunity that we have to support chapters Marty and the AAPC board of directors, they're always focusing on how to better support our chapters. We would not put them into a situation where we did not give them the proper support. So mentioned earlier, in case those weren't on yet, we are looking at reimbursement models for meetings and looking at that structure. So meetings that they're holding, maybe reimbursing those in a different way to help support the chapters. Also giving them access to materials to be able to hold other types of meetings, such as not a meeting, but a review where they would be able to charge for that effort. So individuals that are preparing for their exam, instead of going to the local chapter to take their exam, might go to their local chapter to get that prep from people who also have been successful taking the exams. Learning from individuals who have also gone through this experience, I think, gives individuals the sense of confidence that this person has lived through what I've lived through, and they've got really important tips to share with me on how to be successful. So that's why we think local chapters having that opportunity to broaden the offering of review classes should be helpful.
And I know that we've talked about perhaps, charging for that. That's going to be up to the
Chapters.
I'm not talking about a huge, I've known chapters that charge $10, and that just covers some food even, charge people $10 for a review class. And because it can last all day, they have something small for breakfast, they give them a lunch and run through the day. And that kind of just helps to cover that cost. Anytime you're doing a full day event, and a lot of folks are still doing those virtually, like a full day workshop, pick a topic, you're offering CEUs. And again, sometimes they have prizes and giveaways, and we're not suggesting, and our chapter we didn't like start charging that high dollar price. It was just something to cover the cost for that day and be able to maybe have prizes. But again, it's a decision the chapter makes, and AAPC is working with the chapters to find better way. They certainly understand if exams aren't going to be held there, then we need to find another way. And it's just working through the process as we get there.
Watching the reactions as we speak, it's I see a lot of hearts, I see a lot of thumbs up of appreciation, but then sometimes I see a sad face or angry face. And we can't make everybody, we're trying our best. We're trying our best.
Right. Well, and to Alex, for those that aren't satisfied or still see issue or still have concerns about what it is we're proposing, you have an outlet, you have a voice. For those local chapter officers, the BOD is constantly doing virtual meetings to hear from local chapter officers. You know what I mean? You have an outlet to say, you know what, I don't think review classes are going to work in our area because of this. Well, let us help you work through a solution. We've had to support chapters through many, many changes. When we had to go all virtual, we had a lot of chapters that didn't want to navigate Zoom, that wanted to just stop meetings until we were back in person. So this isn't the first change that we have to work through with chapters. And all I can say is that the AAPC team here, as well as all of the chapter officers, the BOD, are dedicated to giving you the support that you need. But don't just bring the problem, bring the solution. If you have other ideas, we have some chapters that have been very successful finding alternate ways for reimbursement to help fund the activities that they want to do in their location. It is possible. I can tell you that. It is possible for us to work through solutions on things that you might think won't work.
And within your state, understand what other chapters are doing. I know that I'll just have to give a shout out. The state of Virginia has some really strong local chapters. And sometimes they even work together to have like a state conference, but they learn from each other and they work with each other. And no, it's not easy. I am not sitting here saying that, oh, it's a piece of cake, run a chapter, make some money. No, everything takes work and it takes dedication. And no, and every change requires even more work. And I've been a chapter officer more times than I can count. And through the years, through the different changes we've had to go through, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, now what am I supposed to do? But at the end of it, it was always a good change. It's just that change is difficult, especially when we're already having to do so many things in our regular life and our work life as well. But I see it as, in the long run, there's going to be a good positive outcome from this. And it's just a matter, just like Ray said, you need to work with the people who are there for you. I've worked, when I was a chapter officer, I worked with the BOD many times to help with some interesting problems we were having within the chapter. And always they were there to help me with a solution, to help me find the best way. If it's a question you have on something else, remember the other committee, you have your NAB. They represent your voice on other things, and you do have representatives, and they're here to hear you and understand what your issue is and help bring that to AAPs. The NAB is the advisory board to AAPC, and they bring the thoughts and the feelings and the words from the members to AAPC to be heard.
Yes, absolutely. And I see former and current NAB and BOD members in the chat. Good to see you guys. I strongly encourage, you can find them if you search on the AAPC website for National Advisory Board or Board of Directors, and their emails are listed next to their profile. So I think that is a great way to communicate your thoughts on how we can improve the way we do this. Here is a big one, guys.
Okay.
It's from Lisa Bundy. Lisa, you posted this question earlier, but this is a common question coming through. Please address the scratch paper issue. We are not a dishonest bunch, and not being able to take a note while I code is problematic. That is real life coding. So we're seeing individuals who want to have a scratch pad. And as we discussed that, Ray and Jackie, can we talk also to marking books and things like that? Will that still be allowed as well?
So, marking of books, yes, if they're using physical books, for sure is allowed. We're trying to make most of the materials available inside of the electronic format of the exam delivery. That's why we added the notepad instead of the scratch paper, because if you have paper that you're utilizing during the live remote proctored exam, we have no control over what happens to that paper when the exam encounter is over. And you might have the best of intentions, but I don't know that you would appreciate the integrity of your credential coming in question if not everyone had the same intention that you did. And unfortunately, that's the way we have to look at things when we're talking about exam integrity. How can we absolutely make sure exam content is not leaving the test encounter? And that is the major reason why we've put some of the audit tools, we've put PDFs of some of the resources people need within the exam platform to limit what would need to be used on the desk space, because every item that we allow is just another opportunity for someone to take advantage of access to things or taking things out of the exam encounter. One thing that we are beta testing right now is the use of e-code books inside of the exam. So we will get to a point where members will be able to choose, do they want to use an electronic code book during the exam, or do they want to use their printed manuals? So for those that have heard of that initiative, we're not taking printed books away. We are testing how the test experience moves with ebooks versus printed books and making that an option for test takers.
I just want to add to that. a couple of things. You're right. I think it was Lisa who had we're not a bad bunch at all, but within any group, there's going to be someone always. And the one thing that we don't publish, or AAPC doesn't publish in the newsletter, is the ethics department is busy. And the ethics department is that group is very busy with complaints and with those individuals who feel like there is a way to circumvent the process and eliminate the integrity of the exam. So when Ray is talking about that, it comes with a reason behind it. It's not like, oh, we just need to do this. It's because individuals over the years and still currently are looking for ways to not do the proper thing. And the ethics department is busy, and we have lost members because of that, because it's not fair to disrupt the integrity of that exam. So that person will not be invited, when found and confirmed, that person will not be invited to come back to AAPC. So they do take it very, very seriously, and that does come in. As far as the ebooks, again, I'm the older one here. I thought for sure I could never use one, but they are the best thing ever. I will be the first to say, I can't believe how much I love these ebooks. Because one, when I travel now, I don't have to take my books with me, and those things are heavy. So they're right there. You can add notes. You can do a lot of things. You can tab pages, highlight stuff, just the same I do in my regular book. But true, it's not going to change to that. You can't have your regular books. Goodness knows I love my books. However, the ebook has an incredible place. And if you gave them a try one time, you'd be amazed how easy they are to use. It's your whole book. Nothing's missing. Whole book right there in front of you. They're fantastic. And I would have been the last one who would have ever thought I'd say that.
Okay. Thank you both. Amber Simon said earlier, so just for our audience, just so you know, I have to cherry pick questions. So we only have so much time, and I'm trying to find common questions. Here's something from earlier that I've seen come through. Amber Simon said, you should be able to see the location before purchasing a test. Rural area people would have to drive 4+ hours each way. Information should be available in advance. So Ray, I think this is back when we're talking about identifying where measure testing center is. How will would you kind of clarify how that process will work? Will I just go onto the website, choose an exam?
So yeah, what'll happen is when you purchase your voucher from AAPC, once that exam is purchased, then you'll be able to say, okay, do I want to take this live remote proctored, or do I want to take this in a test location? So if they're choosing a test location, then they would be given the option of where they want to take that test that is closest to them. If it's an instance where someone says, if I don't have an exam location within 2 hours of me, I'm not going to test at all. That's something that we'll have to work through customer service to see how we might be able to find out those locations near them at that time. If that is going to make or break, like if it's not close enough to me, I don't plan to ever take the test, versus I have the option to do it live remote or in a location as close to me as possible. We would have to take those as a case-by-case instance. And that's something that we would have to advise on. And I'll make sure that we put that in the FAQs when we release those, because those are all being updated for this change. So if that is a situation that you're in, finding a path forward for those individuals.
And if you start that path, I'm going to go to a testing center, and let's say you find out it just doesn't work for you, you can switch and have it the other way. You're not lock and loaded until you hit that done button, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like there are a few who are jumping into this broadcast a little late, but just to reiterate, beginning in 2024, we will continue to have our electronic exams that you can take from home, or as Jackie mentioned, she rented a hotel room for a day just to have an easy
No one
way
else
to
has.
do it. Yep.
Well, one option to that too is, I was thinking, and I forgot to mention it, Jackie, is I know that some like public librariries will have
yeah.
private rooms. I know that some of our examinees have gone through, that have been worried about that instance, have gone and reserved a private room through a library that was
Oh,
near
great.
them.
They
So
Love
do.
that.
Mhm. That's a really great idea.
And they do have Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
and that might be more stable than you're able to get in your community.
but it does have to be a private room, just so that we're clear. You know, you're not going to be able to go sit in a cubicle there and do live remote proctoring. It does have to be a private room.
All right. And in addition to this is talking about going into 2024, in addition to the electronic exams, you will be able to have an online exam or in-person exam experience at a measure testing center. And there are several people have posted links to their locations in the comments. So check that out. We are not eliminating the in-person opportunity, but it may not be available in your area, just as a local chapter may not be close to you. And that's where we hope that electronic exams can help fill that gap. So I don't know, Ray and Jackie, I would say that there are more options for examinees than ever before. Is that fair?
I agree.
Yes.
Okay. One thing I've noticed just from reading comments in the Facebook group is there are those who aren't reading through the electronic exam instructions thoroughly. And I would, just as you would in your coding career, be very precise about each requirement and make sure you fulfill those. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or ask in the group if for clarification on one of those requirements.
Yeah, I mean, because we have instances where people are showing up to the live remote proctoring exam saying, what, I need a webcam? I didn't know I needed a camera. I mean, that's an example of someone that did not read through the requirements, because we've been trying to educate as much as we can. And if anyone has any recommendations who have gone through the exam process of how AAPC could have better communicated what was expected so you felt prepared, we are willing to hear it, because we've tried videos, FAQs in the exam confirmation. We've really tried to make all this information available. And if we're still missing the mark, please give us a suggestion on what you'd like to see.
One suggestion that came up when we talked about Notepad is whiteboards. Would that be a feasible alternative, Ray?
So we can discuss it, but I'm not making any promises. Again, the intent is to put everything within the exam platform so that there is no vulnerability of anything being removed from that encounter.
Okay.
Because we know we can wipe the notepad. We know we have control over that element.
Right. Daphne, we see at our conferences. She's amazing. Love hanging out with Daphne. She asked, how does the exam prevent using internet searches? So from what I understand, you just have one screen. Can the proctor see what is on that screen, right?
Yeah, and it's captured through video. So even we can go and see if they try to do something. If they try to do something like suspicious strokes or accessing something they shouldn't, they're going to get a warning in the exam that, hey, you're doing something you're not allowed to do. This is not permitted. And it doesn't allow them to go into other websites while they're in the exam. That's why we're trying to make everything inclusive in the platform as possible. So there would be no reason for them to access anything outside of the exam encounter.
Yes. Okay. Beverly Stover who is on our board of directors, she has this great idea. She says, maybe email an exam checklist once someone signs up for an exam that people must read and sign, like a contract saying, I understand these are the requirements. Good idea, Beth. Patty Bossa.
We'll take that back.
Yeah.
I just want to know what she suggests when they don't click it off and they show up and say, I'm here to take my exam.
You know,
And I didn't read and sign. So Beverly, we're going to investigate this further with you.
yeah, your choice.
Yes. Okay. There was a question here. If they just fly through real quick. I apologize, everybody. I'm doing my best to get to all of them. Oh, Patty Bossa asked, will you need to bring your own camera? And I'm going to expand this, and laptop or computer into a testing center, or will they
No.
have all of that?
They have everything. So all you do is show up with your materials, your ID, so they know who you are. There's going to be a list of things that you have to bring with you, but camera, computer, none of that is your responsibility. The test center is there to facilitate that exam for you.
Okay, awesome. We will have a checklist for those examinees using the in-person measure testing centers experience in the future. So I hate to create more questions when we're not quite to that point yet, but just know that we will prepare you and prepare those examinees for that experience. All right. Okay, everybody, just going through. There are so many questions. I'm kind of going back up.
What I would suggest to people is that if they're participating in exams with the AAPC, that they have up-to-date information in their member profile. Please make sure the email that we have for you is working. A lot of what we send is through email. So if we don't have a updated email for you and we're emailing you these checklists and all of this information.
Uh-oh.
And just remember, you froze for a second there, right? So just remember, when you update that information, also, if you're not getting the emails, check your junk folder, your spam folder, because sometimes, depending on if you're using your work email or trying to get in through that way, it could be blocking that email. And so you could have information coming to you that you don't know. I know that's happened to me before, and I've had to switch some things around. But look for it, because if you update that member profile, it's going to be there and you're going to get them. And you can select the type of emails you want to get. So you have that control. Just go back and see what you have set, and maybe you need to reset some of that.
Okay. Brianne asked this, and this takes us back to knowing your measure exam location prior to scheduling your exam. I feel like this is an important one. She says, but you said previously that we won't know the testing center locations until we register. And then she says, I'm assuming paid for it. If home testing isn't an option and on-site testing was the only option, do you get refunded if you can't get to the testing locations, since it's a buy it now and find out after?
So I would just reiterate again, if the location is going to make your purchase decision in the FAQs, we will address best path forward for that. What I'm saying is, when they purchase an exam, they will have an option of saying, do I want to take it in person somewhere, or do I want to take it live remote proctored? And if you're saying the only way I'll take an exam is in person at a convenient spot for me, and there are no convenient spots, we will absolutely make that right with the member, but we will handle that in the FAQs. That's something that we're going to have to take back and discuss. Usually people are going to take an exam regardless of where they have to go. We've got limitations of availability now through local chapters. So I would just want to better understand what's prompting them to say, I want to know where it physically is before I say yes or no to take an exam at all.
Okay. David, part of our Puerto Rico contingency, he was out in Nashville. We did the ghost tour together. Hey, David, good to see you. He's heard that there's a rumor that the exam will be a fill in the blank exam. Is this true? Are we gravitating away from multiple choice?
So with moving to electronic exams, it gives us the opportunity to incorporate other exam item types, like with the CIC, where we have a combination of multiple choice and fill in the blank. So yes, in 2024, for other exams other than CIC, you will see the inclusion of fill in the blank cases that will have to be taken. So before we make that change, that will be communicated out to members so that they understand what to expect of that exam encounter, as well as you will notice a change in AAPC products that are for test preparation, with fill in the blank answer mock questions within practice exams, study guides, and we already have that through the courses that you take with AAPC with the practical applications. So would it be all fill in the blank? No. Will it be incorporation of fill in the blank questions? Yes.
And this
Very
is
hard.
something
Oh, go ahead,
work in
Jackie.
progress as well. So
Right.
again, that sounds like, oh my gosh, how if you've studied, it should not be an issue. It's the same test. It's now just showing once again that you understand your information. So before everybody freaks out on a fill in the blank, it's really just if you understand the work and you've done all your prep, it's just putting a code in there instead of having to read so many and picking one of many. You just know the one that it needs to be.
Lori says, how do you prevent people from cheating? Saying AAPC said the integrity and security of our exams continue to be our focus, which I can attest to. I've seen what happens when we know exam questions are leaked and how quickly we respond to that and change them out in exams. But I think that's a case-by-case basis. There will always be those who are trying to stay a step ahead of us, and
Well, yeah,
they
we're
usually
always,
come to light.
we always are focused, and we have a special committee that is focused only on different ways that people could try to cheat and how AAPC would prevent it. One thing I can tell you, with the analytics that we get with the test questions being electronic, we know very quickly if there is an issue with a test object, whether it be with information being leaked, or whether it be test questions not performing well and putting examinees at an unfair advantage. So the statistics that we can get with the electronic items, also the variations that we can create with the electronic items, rather than it being a set test format, you're able to give so much variation within an exam that ideally not two people get the same test questions. So randomization in the electronic format, statistics where we can track the success of a test item, all of this gives us security measures that you just can't maintain in a paper environment.
Okay. We are at the top of the hour, but there are two questions that I would just like to get to real quick. First, Carrie is asking about ADA accommodations for additional time or other considerations. We do offer
We
ADA
do. It's the
accommodations.
it's the same process. So they would follow the same exact process.
Okay. And finally, this is for Cindy Ackerman. She's asking about, let's see here. She's asking about PMCC exam options. Can you address the exam options for PMCC? Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
For PMCC, their students will go through a test center as well. Like I said, if they want to investigate the ability of becoming an approved test center through Measure, they would just have to go through all of those requirements that Measure has to qualify for a test center.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Well, hey, we made it to the end. We didn't answer every question. I feel like sometimes one question opens the door to more questions,
Right.
which is difficult. And I remember how hesitant we were to, or slow to move forward, opening up electronic exams for all certifications. We kind of dipped our toe in it, and members were like, "Come on, we want more." There's a lot of pressure on us to do that, and I hope you can see now why we were so cautious. There are just many more questions, and we're trying to. This process will continue to evolve, I'm sure, with the suggestions from the comments that we see here, and I know Ray and Jaci will take these into consideration. Jaci, any final thoughts from you as we wrap this up?
I just appreciate that we're moving forward. Certainly it's change can be scary, but I know that if you continue to get your emails and you take the time to read the information on the website, it should help calm your nerves. But if there's still questions, reach out to your 2 advisory boards, and that information will get to AAPC, and they do take it seriously. And that I can say for sure.
Ray, from yourself, any final thoughts as we close this meeting?
Yeah, just want to say that, you know, when we're looking at making modifications in the evolution of exams and how we're testing test competency, we're not doing this in isolation or in a bubble or without data. That's why we beta test. Our mode here has been beta test things before we implement them, and that will continue. Also getting advice and input from our education and exam committee, as well as NAB and BOD. The other thing I would say for local chapter officers who are still concerned, just know, again, we're here to work through those instances with you. So when the plan is provided, which it will be, there will be a formal meeting to go over changes for chapters. Just know that we're here to work through instances with you. So it's not like take this or leave it. This is our best plan, knowing that we're not going to be able to think of everything on our own. So if you have an instance that you feel has not been thought through, that's what we're here for, to get feedback from you and be a partner to help you figure it out and come to a solution that's going to work for the chapter.
All right. Thank you, Ray and Jaci. I'd just like to say this recording will live on our Facebook page, and I think I pushed it into the group as well, so it should live there, but I will post it on our YouTube channel in the coming days and our podcast. So if you search for the AAPC podcast, it will live there as well. So you can listen to this informative conversation on your drive into work or wherever you may be. And I just like to say that our intent is for our members to be successful in their careers. That is a pure desire. We want you all to be successful and achieve your career objectives. We are doing our best in a new situation, evolving exam experience, and we'll continue to make it better.
Great. Thanks, Alex.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
everyone.
Okay,
Thank
we'll see you guys later. I'm gonna disconnect from Facebook. Bye, everybody. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Bye.